So we have shown, right, that the capital per worker is what the steady state, yeah, and it's not going to change. Yeah, it's not going to change. We have shown what happens if we have more capital, if we have less capital than in the golden rule. We saw that the investment is going to be more than the depreciation. Yeah, so if the investment is more than depreciation, then capital is going to what? To increase. So capital will start to increase until we come back to the golden rule level of capital per what? Per worker. If we have more capital per worker than in the golden rule, you are going to see that the level of depreciation is going to be less. It's going to be more than the level of what? Of investment. So investment is less than what? Depreciation. Yeah? Investment is less than depreciation. So capital is going to what?
To decrease.
To decrease. Yeah? So at the end of the day, once we have attained the golden rule level of capital, here at this point, this is where the depreciation function meets the investment function. So investment is equal to what? Depreciation. So when investment is equal to depreciation, the capital is constant and it doesn't what? Change. So we said in the equilibrium, capital per worker, K, is constant. It doesn't change. We said the output per worker, Y, is also constant. Why? Because Y is equal to a function of what? Of capital. If capital does not change, then output is also not going to what? To change. Are we together? Yeah? But we said now, the savings is the only factor that can change in this model. So savings can change. So let's see how the savings is going to affect the golden rule level of capital, how it's also going to change the output, how it's also going to change the investment and the what? And the consumption. Yeah? So I can give a question here and say, question, what is the effect? What is the effect of an increase? What is the effect of an increase in the savings rate? Yeah, to or on the level of output per worker, output per worker, output per worker, comma, capital per worker, capital per worker, comma, consumption per worker, and the investment per what? Investment per worker. Yeah. Then I will say that how does it affect? How does it affect growth in the long run? How does it affect growth in the long run? Okay, so let's start here. This is our savings function. This is our investment function. Of course, our investment function is affected by savings. So say we have the rate of savings, which is S1. But we said the savings is going to what? To increase. So say savings increases from say S1 to S what? To S2. Yeah? So when savings increases, what is going to happen when savings increases? Yeah? Because here savings multiplied by F of K is the investment. Yeah? So if you save more, why are you saving? You are saving this money so that you want to invest. So if the economy is saving more, if the savings rate of the economy is more, it means that it invests more. So this is going to cause the investment function to shift what? Up. But still it's going to start from the what? From the 0 point. So it's going to pivot up. So it's going to shift up to S2 at the new savings rate. Yeah, investment increases from S1 to S2. So to S2 multiplied by F of what? Of K. So this becomes the new investment what? Function. So using the new investment function, the rate of depreciation is still the same. The output per worker function is still the what? The same. So we're going to have the new equilibrium. This is going to be the new what? Equilibrium. Let's going to see what is going to happen then. So we're going to see that the golden rule level of capital is going to change from K star to K star 1. It's going to change from K star to K star 1. So we're going to start answering our questions. Okay. We start by answering what happens to the capital per worker. Where is capital per worker? That is consumption. The capital per worker. What happens to capital per worker? So we see that the capital per worker is going to increase from K star 1 to what? From K star to K star 1. So we can put our answers, say, okay, where should I write? Okay, let me write maybe here, yeah? So that I don't erase what I've written. So we're going to see that the capital per worker is going to increase. Capital per worker increases, yeah, from K star to K star what? 1. Capital per worker what? Increases, like that. Okay, what happens to the output per worker? What happens to the output per worker? Okay, we can indicate the initial level of capital. This was the initial equilibrium, yeah, so if we go up, if we meet the output per worker function, this is going to determine the level of what? Of output. Y0. Say Y0. It's going to determine the level of output. Okay. Now, at the new equilibrium, if we go up, we're going to meet the output what? Per worker function. Output per worker function. If we go horizontally, this is going to determine the level of what? Of output. So what has happened to the output per worker? Output per worker is what? Has increased. So output per worker increases from Y0 to Y what? 1. It increases from Y0 to Y1. What happens to the investment per worker? What happens to the investment per worker? Okay, initially what is the level of investment? I've shown you at this point below the investment function. This is the investment per worker. Yeah, this is the investment per worker. What is the remaining part? The remaining part is the what? Consumption. Is the consumption per what? Per worker. At the new equilibrium, this is the investment per what? Per worker. I1. Yeah. What about the consumption? This is the what? The consumption per what? Per worker. Okay. What happens to investment? Before it was this much. Now it increases. Yeah. So investment per worker increases. Yeah. From, if this was I0, we can actually show it here as well. This is the investment I0. What is the new one? This is the level of investment I what? 1. So it increases from I0 to I1. Now the remaining one is the consumption. What happens to the level of consumption? We can see. Before this was the level of what? Consumption. Now what is the level of what? Consumption. So what has happened to the level of consumption?
It's decreasing.
Yeah? It did what?
It's decreased.
It decreased. Yeah? So consumption per worker decreases. It makes sense, right?
Yes.
It makes sense because output per worker in the equilibrium was constant. So if we increase savings, it means that we're now saving more, so we consume what? Less. So the consumption per worker decreases. What has happened to growth? What has happened to the growth in the long run? What has happened to the growth? You're going to see that now we have moved from the first equilibrium, A, to the new what? Equilibrium what? B, causing the capital to change. So now this was our steady state, but we're going to move to the new what? Steady state level of what? Of capital. So you're going to see that an increase in the savings, it changes the what? The golden rule level of what? Of capital. Causing the output what? To increase. So it means that growth is going to increase. Growth in the long run will increase. Yeah. Changing the golden rule level of capital. K star to K star what? 1. Yeah. But there's one thing that we have to see here. Once we reach at the new equilibrium, capital again become what? Constant. At the new equilibrium again, capital is what? Is constant. At the new equilibrium again, output is what? Is constant. So what can we learn from here? We can learn that an increase in savings, an increase in the savings rate causes temporary growth. Yeah. Once the new steady state is achieved, yeah. Once the new steady state is achieved, capital per worker and output per worker become constant again. So what does this tell us? This tells us that increase in the savings rate is not responsible for persistent growth. It doesn't cause persistent what? Growth. It just causes a one-time increase in the level of capital and in the level of what? Of output. Once we arrive at the new equilibrium, we stop there. So it doesn't cause persistent growth. So it is not the factor, according to the Solow growth model, it is not the factor that causes improved living standards and persistent economic what? Growth.